The film unfolds in the year 2027. A global crisis has taken hold. Female fertility ceased 18 years prior, baffling medical experts. This reproductive failure has resulted in a world devoid of newborns for nearly 2 decades, precipitating widespread societal collapse. War and a consuming fear of human extinction have ravaged most nations, particularly Africa and Eastern Europe, forcing mass migration to more affluent regions. The United Kingdom has transformed into a highly controlled society in response to a surge in undocumented immigration, granting authorities broad powers of detention. The narrative commences with a tragic news report: the demise of Diego, the world's youngest inhabitant, an 18-year-old Argentinian, murdered by a distraught admirer after denying an autograph request. A television broadcast in a Fleet Street cafe depicts a world grappling with the prospect of human extinction, eliciting shock and sorrow from onlookers. Theo Farron, seemingly detached from the unfolding news, enters the establishment. Immediately after his departure and brief stop for an alcoholic beverage, an explosion devastates the cafe. The attack is claimed by the Fishes, a clandestine insurgent group. Disturbed by the incident, Theo departs work prematurely, citing the recent death of baby Diego as a pretext. Seeking solace, he visits Jasper, a friend residing in a secluded forest dwelling with his comatose wife, Janice. The following morning, during Theo's commute, he is abducted by 2 individuals and forcibly transported in a van. His captors identify themselves as members of the Fishes, an organization advocating for immigrant equality against the British government. The revelation emerges that the group's leader is Theo's former spouse, Julian. Julian and Theo share a history marked by the loss of their son, Dylan, to a flu pandemic 2 decades prior. Their reunion is fraught with tension. While initially denying involvement in the cafe bombing, the group's members later accuse the government of perpetrating the attack as a means of discrediting the Fishes. Julian enlists Theo's aid in procuring forged travel documents for an undocumented immigrant, leveraging his cousin's government position. Theo successfully obtains the necessary papers, but with the stipulation of accompanying the immigrant out of the city. A journey ensues, with Theo, Julian, her associate Luke, the immigrant Key, and her midwife Miriam as companions. Their progress is abruptly halted by a burning vehicle, followed by a violent confrontation with a hostile crowd. As chaos erupts, Luke attempts a retreat, only to be met with fatal gunfire directed at Julian. While escaping the assailants, the group is intercepted by law enforcement. In response to a document request, Luke fatally shoots both officers. A brief memorial service is held for Julian in the forest, during which Theo seeks solitude to mourn privately. Luke secures a replacement vehicle and transports the group to a rural safe haven utilized by the Fishes. Theo informs Key of his departure and offers assurances of her well-being under their care. Unexpectedly, Key begins to disrobe, revealing an advanced stage of pregnancy. The revelation astonishes Theo, while the group collectively hails the event as a miracle. Subsequent discussions focus on the group's next course of action, with Theo advocating for public disclosure of the pregnancy. The Fishes express concerns about potential government interference, proposing to retain custody of Key and her child. Ultimately, the decision is deferred to Key, who concurs with the group's plan. Later that night, Luke is alerted to a disturbance outside and investigates, discovering 2 wounded individuals seeking refuge. One of the injured men is identified as Patrick, a volatile associate of Julian. Theo overhears a conversation between Luke and Patrick, revealing a disturbing plot orchestrated by the Fishes. They intend to exploit Key's unborn child for their own ends, likely financial gain. Furthermore, Theo is marked for death. Alarmed, Theo confides in Key and Miriam about Luke's involvement in Julian's demise. Given Julian's prior counsel to trust Theo, Key believes his account. He swiftly evacuates the women, impeding pursuit by disabling the remaining vehicles. Seeking refuge, Theo transports them to Jasper's secluded dwelling. Upon witnessing Key's pregnancy, Jasper offers assistance. He arranges for Key to board the Tomorrow, a vessel operated by the Human Project, a scientific organization based in the Azores dedicated to restoring human fertility. The Human Project represents Key's sole hope for genuine assistance. The following morning, the Fishes locate Jasper's residence, triggering an alert. Theo swiftly evacuates the group to Sid's location, a facilitator in their journey to the Tomorrow. Observing the Fishes' arrival and subsequent confrontation with Jasper, Theo witnesses his friend's murder. Overwhelmed by grief and frustration, Theo perseveres in the mission. The trio seeks refuge in an abandoned school, awaiting transportation. Sid, an immigration officer and Jasper's friend, arrives to execute the plan, to facilitate their passage to the Tomorrow by feigning their arrest and deportation. The group is transported to a refugee camp, where a harrowing scene unfolds. The military systematically eliminates refugees. Amidst this chaos, Key experiences the onset of labor, her pain exacerbated by the circumstances. Miriam, a former gynecologist, provides medical support during this ordeal. The group successfully boards the refugee bus bound for Bexhill. En route, Key's water breaks, signaling the imminent onset of labor. An immigration officer enters the bus to investigate Key's condition. Miriam employs a diversionary tactic to distract the officer, resulting in her own arrest. Key and Theo arrive in Bexhill undetected. They seek shelter in a dilapidated room provided by Marichka. The onset of labor intensifies, prompting Theo to assist Key in the delivery process. Their efforts culminate in the birth of a healthy baby girl, a cause for celebration. The following morning, the tranquility is disrupted by the arrival of Sid and Marichka, bearing alarming news of a citywide incursion by the fishes, necessitating the deployment of the National Guard. Key attempts to conceal her child, but the infant is eventually discovered. Marichka warns Theo and Key about Sid's treacherous nature, but her pleas are silenced by Sid's threats. His intention to betray them for financial gain is revealed. Marichka intervenes, enabling a narrow escape for the trio. Amidst the urban chaos, the group seeks refuge with Marichka's family. The family provides care for Key and the infant, pledging their support in facilitating the group's escape via boat. Disguising Key in a wheelchair, they venture into the perilous streets, navigating a landscape of gunfire and explosions. Before reaching their destination, the fishes intercept the group, abducting Key and fatally wounding Marichka's associate. A counterattack by British forces ensues, allowing Marichka and Theo to flee the scene. Separated during their escape, Theo embarks on a search for Key and the child. His pursuit leads him to a building where he discovers Key and her crying infant concealed amidst the casualties. Luke, positioned at a window, engages in a firefight with opposing forces. As Theo attempts to evacuate Key and the child, Luke opens fire, but is fatally wounded, enabling their escape. As they exit the building, an explosion erupts behind them. The group seizes the opportunity to flee, resuming their escape amidst renewed hostilities. Reuniting with Marichka, Theo, Key, and the baby embark on their journey by boat. Aerial surveillance by fighter jets prompts Key's concern about their timing, but Theo reassures her of their eventual arrival at the Tomorrow ship. A sudden display of blood causes Key to panic, believing herself injured. Theo clarifies that the blood is his, a result of a previous gunshot wound inflicted by Luke. Despite his pain, Theo instructs Key on infant care. As his discomfort intensifies, Key declares her intention to name the baby Dylan, honoring Theo's deceased son. Theo subsequently loses consciousness, leaving Key to call for help as she sights the approaching Tomorrow ship, their final destination. The film concludes with the sound of children's laughter, symbolizing the restoration of normalcy.